Hey guys, I'm Salvation again, and in this video I want to test how good Blade Flurry works for cast on crit. For this purpose I just took Blade Flurry and slotted it in on two different Cyclone cast on crit builds I had. One of them is a version of my tanky twirl, and the other one is a Flurry Discharger that I'm currently playing in the Essence League. So let's have a look at Blade Flurry and why it seems like an interesting skill for cast on crit. So first off, let's get this out of the way. Blade Flurry is an attack. It's not a spell, so you can't cast on crit it, but you can cast on crit with it. So it's used to trigger spells that are linked to it, or are not linked to it if you are using a Cosprey's Malice. But the attack for a cast on crit build is indeed pretty important, even if it's not used to deal the damage, but it needs to fit certain criteria, and most of the time that is that you can produce rapid hits with it, so you can cast more spells. So abilities that have a attack speed bonus are interesting indeed, and Blade Flurry has a very high attack speed bonus of 65% more attack speed, so that's interesting from the start. Then it also has the ability to produce more than one hit per attack, or in Blade Flurry's case it's a bit special because you're channeling it, so there is not a single attack, but you're channeling it, and if it reaches its maximum stages you can release it, and then it definitely deals multiple hits. So you first strike very rapidly and then get even off with more hits if you release it at maximum stacks, or even if you release it before you reach maximum stacks, you will get multiple attacks on all enemies around you, and if there is only one enemy, yeah, then you hit all these attacks on one enemy. So that's pretty sweet, because that's a weak spot for many other attacks, that they can't really produce many hits on a single target, and that's why most cast on crit builds used Cyclone, because Cyclone hits twice when you activate it and can trigger pretty rapid hits on the target even after that, and each time you recast it, it will also have a double hit. So Blade Flurry is indeed pretty good in that regard. Apart from the single target capability, there's of course also the normal trash clear ability, and some skills are just not that good in that regard. For example, Molten Strike is pretty good cast on crit skill for single target, but it's very clunky to use to clear a map with it, and that's why it was mostly only used on Discharge with Mjolnirs, and I never was a big fan of that. So but Blade Flurry has a pretty good AoE from the start, so it's very good for trash clearing, I would say, especially if you are using a skill that has some range. So for Discharge it's not that good, but if you're using a blade fall and serial knives, as I was doing earlier in the video, it is indeed pretty good. At least for my liking, it's more than good enough. Of course, if you compare it to Cyclone, you have to keep in mind that you are stationary when you are using Blade Flurry, but it does not really lock you into place for a long time. You can stop the channeling at any time and just whirl away with whirling blades, so I did not find that to be a big downside. Another big strength of Cyclone was that you are stun immune while you are using Cyclone, and that is not the case with Blade Flurry. So you have to get some form of stun immunity, but with Eye of Shayula, Valurium, or some boot enchantments where you can avoid stun if you have killed recently, or even Skyforce, there are options in the game that can be used to achieve stun immunity, and one of these options will fit in for most builds, so that isn't that much of a problem in my opinion. Another factor is the mana cost, because with a cast on crit build you can't invest into mana regeneration, and you don't want to invest into mana regeneration because you want to run no regeneration maps anyway, so you can't use an attack that costs too much, or at least normally you don't want that, but Cyclone was one of the most expensive attacks in the game anyway, and you just used Elreon rings to avoid that, or the Trickster Ascendancy, and Blade Flurry is even a lot better in that regard. It has a pretty low mana cost. On a 6th link you can cast it for free with only one Elreon ring, and that is an investment that most builds can afford, and yeah, so it's pretty good in that regard. I will definitely test this some more, because in Path of Exile I feel like you only get the whole picture if you're running a lot of maps and see the skill perform in different situations. At the moment I am also not that good with it, because I'm used to Cyclone and it's always a bit hard to switch from Cyclone to another spell that does not let you move. But as I said, it's not really bad. You're not locked down for a long time, so I guess I can get used to it, and I'll keep you updated. If you're interested to learn more about it, please feel free to like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. See you next time.